We're going to have a really good and engaging conversation today regarding AI and the guest experience. To introduce myself, my name is Dan Fischer. I'm a partner in KPMG's strategy practice, and I also lead KPMG's deal advisory and strategy industry offering. So I spend a lot of time in this place, and I know certainly AI is a hot topic. When I was preparing for my introduction today, I thought of some really creative AI-related jokes that I bounced off my team. And one of the associates, so the most junior team members, said, "Dan, that's a geriatric millennial comment." And I said, "I've never been called a geriatric millennial before. I don't know if I should be offended by that." So they said, "Cut out all jokes." So maybe afterwards you can grab me and get your opinion if they truly were geriatric millennial jokes. That being said, let's quickly introduce our panelists today, starting with Andrei.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time to be here. My name is Andrei Papancea. I'm the CEO and Chief Product Officer of a company called NLX. We specialize in conversational AI technology for enterprises.
Great. Hi, guys. Gaurav Sharma. I'm the founder for MOSAIC. MOSAIC, like to put it in a nutshell, 25,000 independent hotels in US, each of those having, call it 20 to 25 different operating systems. All of those, how do we consolidate them and bring them all together? How do we find the best tech stacks that works? Not only find them the tech stacks, but also help them on a pricing standpoint, help them on a onboarding standpoint, and then finally, towards the end, on a commercial side, we take an owner's perspective when we come in. We actually call it murdering your darlings. So we come in, we really look at the asset. If we had to buy the asset, what would we do to this asset upon takeover? But really, we turn it around and give it to the existing owner so they have the ability to truly capitalize on the needs that they have to truly optimize on one thing that's most important, that's NOI.
Hi, everyone. I'm Aria. I graduated from UC Berkeley this May and then began working on GuestGenie. So it's safe to say that I've been working on AI my whole career. And what we do in GuestGenie is we automate messaging between hosts and guests. So when guests have questions regarding amenities, check-in, Wi-Fi passwords, stuff like that, we send automatic messages instantly to the guest.
Hey everyone, Shahar Goldboim. I'm coming from the vacation rental industry actually. Funded a company in 2017, Design VR, that grew up to be like $150 million under management, being a tech-enabled company, own a brokerage company in real estate, own a fund to deploy capital in the real estate in the mid-luxury market in Southeast Florida and west side of Florida. And during all of that time, we developed like technology. And I decided around a year and a half ago to put it out to the market as a SaaS model because we figured out that we have the best technology in the world. That's what's called Boom. And we are the world's first AI PMS, meaning we take all of the aspect of office work, meaning when you're looking at vacation rental, hospitality, you have the legs on ground and you have all of the office work that needs to be done, like pricing, guest communication, dispatching, bookkeeping. So we take all of that aspect and basically change the way hospitality work.
Thanks, guys. With all this great experience, I'm sure we're going to have a good conversation today. Wanted to start off with a very broad question regarding how you are seeing AI impacting the guest experience today. And then at the end of the panel, we'll take a look at what you think that view will be like in the future. So maybe if we just go down the line and start with you, Andrei.
Sure thing. Well, you said today, so now I'm kind of, it's tricky between what's possible and what's actually being done. I think there's quite a bit of instances where it's used to streamline any form of like customer service, whether that's pre or post booking or during the actual journey. We have customers that use it all the way through the process of discovery and booking, so pre-trip, just as much as during the trip itself. Let's say you're on property and you want to streamline maybe the services that you offer on property, things like let's say room service or towel service or like room cleaning, things that might involve some form of repetitive tasks regardless of their complexity. that humans would normally do that you can otherwise like introduce some form of streamlining where especially thanks to some of the latest innovations in generative AI, you can now fast track. In some cases, 100%. In other cases, you do a chunk of work that you then hand over to a human.
When you mentioned repetitive tasks, it made me think of AI-powered voice and text solutions. How are you seeing that impact the guest experience?
Well, for one, consumer expectations have changed in the last couple of years in that it's no longer about, as a brand, you can't afford to just service customers where and when you want. You have to service them wherever, however, and whenever the customers choose to. And in some cases, that will happen over text, whether it's SMS chat, WhatsApp, in-app chat, web chat, whatever. In other cases, it can happen over voice, whether you're dealing with like any sort of like smart home devices or assistants, or maybe I'm driving to the airport and I need to call you, right? So brands, if brands don't step in to streamline their operations, if someone calls you up and you haven't automated like a password reset, something as routine as that, you'll have to deal with it one way or another. And nowadays, because of the advancements in not just generative, but also like multimodal AI technology, where we have, for instance, some technology where you can synchronize the audio channel to what you might see on a screen, say a website, mobile app, you can address and automate use cases of very high degrees of complexity. So tons of opportunity. And of course, there's always, everything goes back to like, where's the data? Are all the systems that are required to personalize the experience available? But I'm speaking to folks who already know those challenges.
So you're saying after I check out of a hotel and I get those 5 text messages asking for feedback, that's not a real human on the other side?
No.
Burst my bubble. Gaurav?
Yeah, I think you just covered most of the stuff, but I'll just emphasize on 2 things. One is the guest journey, which is on discovery phase. That to me is the most important aspect on how you collect the data and what you have the ability to customize. Some of the website vendors that we work with are also looking at what does the website look as completely different based on the type of audience that you're assuming is coming to the website. We always talk about dynamic pricing and dynamic all this stuff, but the website is always static. So how do we change those things? So all of these things are in the works that is going to start to really augment the perception of customization to what I believe someone else spoke about, to what we can truly drive. One example I'll give you on the guest journey, like just recently, I tried to say, hey, ChatGPT, while it can't search live data, I asked ChatGPT, I need to go back from DC to Portland, Maine. What is the best flight I could do, et cetera. And even on that level, it routed me to book on Expedia for an American Airlines flight. If most of the data aggregators right now are being pulled from Metas and are being pulled from the OTA sites, it begs to differ on a branded standpoint. How is it when you have got thousands of different owners, thousands of different multi-layers of different channels you work with? How do you truly drive traffic to your own website in the long term with AI coming in? Because it's only going to get worse from here unless people don't put the money behind to work on it, where the long-term attribution is not seen for the next few years. But reality is that in the in run, you really get to see the benefit of what you're going to sow today.
Yeah, I basically agree with what both of them said. I don't think that the guest experience so far has been changed too much by AI. I think that is certainly coming in the next several years. And I think a lot of companies right now are just starting to plan out and implement how they're going to achieve this. I know Airbnb, for example, is starting to unleash a feature where they're going to respond to guest inquiries the same way GuestGenie is doing by trying to compose an answer and leaving it in your inbox for you to send. So companies are starting to slowly incorporate AI, but I don't think we're at the point yet where it's affected the guest experience too much.
Yeah, I totally agree. Meaning you have few levels, right? When we're looking at the infrastructure, let's take AI the most disruptive thing that happened to humankind ever, right? So we have NVIDIA, they created the interface for everybody to work on. Then we have Google, we have OpenAI that creates like the models. Then we have the new world, which is all the products that will be set on top of that allowing us to create the new generation of technology, I would say. So AI becoming an infrastructure, it's become like electricity, it's becoming like internet that you plug in product to, and we're seeing the new product coming in. And in matter of like the guest experience, what we're seeing now is technologies that coming in, and we have the chatbot, we had like all kind of different activities that taking the AI and applying it to the new way of doing business, that in reality, the experience of the guest will be that he will get the answer much quicker, he will get an answer that will be more accurate than before, and it will be a hybrid of humans and technology, meaning we have layer 1, we have layer 2, and we have layer 3, for example, with the technologies that we are doing today, where actually humans will come in, where it's becoming a little bit complicated. And what we seeing today is a change of SaaS from a software as a service to service as a software. So this is a new generation of technology that we are currently in.
As I'm sure you could appreciate in my role, I interact with many leaders across the hospitality space. I recently had a conversation with one of those who works for a very large lodging brand, and the topic of AI and how it impacts the guest experience came up. This individual's perspective was that AI will never fully replace the human element of the guest experience, particularly in the context of lodging. And while there is a very strong place for it to be on the front end and the back end of a customer journey, it won't have any place in the middle. What are your thoughts on that?
100%, meaning the human touch is the most beautiful thing that human actually can give. And where the AI is coming in is to be able to give this human touch, because all of the tedious tests that needed to be done, if they are done with AI, in all level, even financial, if my payroll now is $100,000 and I can cut it down to $40,000, I have a gap of $60,000 that I can put into the guest experience, I can focus on the guest, rather than focusing on all of the tedious tests that needs to be done. So, yeah.
I get very excited when you talk numbers, but I don't want to spiral. We will get to ROI later. Any other thoughts on that statement? In agreement?
Yes.
Yeah?
Basically.
One of the things I heard that came up in some of your answers was data. So, Aria, I had a question for you about what type of customer information can be effectively collected at this time and be analyzed by AI in real time to enhance, say, the booking process and improve guest satisfaction?
Yeah, that's a great question, because at the heart of AI is data, and your AI algorithms are only as strong as the data you feed them. When it comes to guest experiences, there's a lot of different data you can pull, but there's 3 broad categories that come to mind for me. First of which is property level information. So that's like how we're doing with GuestGenie, where we'll take the property level information such as amenities, policies, rules, check-in times, and the great thing about that kind of information is that every property manager already has all that information stored and indexed, so it's just about tapping into it. And the great thing about that is we can use it to respond to guests' inquiries much quicker. Imagine a case where you just got off a long flight and you got to your Airbnb and the code doesn't work, so you message the host and you're just waiting 10, 20, 30 minutes. That's really going to ruin your trip. So utilizing the property data to provide answers is one way to enhance the guest experience. Another useful category is booking data, because if we look at a customer's profile of the types of properties they've booked in the past, we can use AI to draw similarities and understand patterns between those. And booking sites can serve hotels and rentals that match those patterns. For example, if you've only booked at hotels that have a breakfast buffet, or you've only stayed at Airbnbs that are in a certain price range in a certain location, you can have the algorithm feed you those while you're searching, And not only does that help guests interact with more properties they're likely to stay at, but it also helps hosts by serving their properties in a much more effective way. And lastly, I don't think we're there yet, but one very exciting potential category of data that we can store is something that I refer to as smart device data. And this hinges on homes being equipped with smart devices, which a lot are starting to, but I think it's going to become a lot more ubiquitous in the future. And smart devices could be anything from electronic blinds, electronic heating systems for pools, or just cooling systems, AC, stuff like that. Anything that you control manually, if those are implemented with information of things technology, so they can store the data of when they're being turned on, turned off. We can understand the patterns of guests and understand their environment and living habits. So one example of this, I know it sounds a little bit complicated right now, but imagine you just checked into your Airbnb. In the past few days, you've been using the jacuzzi around 8 or 9 p.m. Following day, you could get a notification saying, around 7:30, saying, would you like us to heat up the jacuzzi for you? Or if you've been pulling the blinds up at 9 a.m. every morning, it could start doing that automatically. So just understanding the patterns of behavior of guests, I think, is the most highest potential for improving guest experience.
That's pretty interesting because I think that also could benefit guest loyalty. And I feel like brands, lodging brands, but also gaming companies, cruise lines could really use that information to enhance their own loyalty programs. Have you thought through the impacts and how it translates to that?
Yeah, definitely. So I think when people experience this kind of personalized experiences that don't even meet their needs but anticipate and meet their needs ahead of time, it really just gives a wow factor to the experience. And I think it creates an unforgettable experience that does create loyalty, because at the end of the day, you want to search for the properties and experiences that gave you that feeling that you're being so well taken care of. And if AI can personalize your experience a bit more, it's certainly going to lead to you wanting to return.
It does make me wonder, when we talk about all of this data collection, what ethical considerations we should bear in mind, and if there are any biases that need to be considered when using AI and interacting with guests. I'd be surprised if it hasn't come up earlier today at some point, but would welcome the panel's thoughts on that.
Yeah, I'll say I think so many people just talked about the whole privacy side of it, but I'll break it in two parts because privacy works both ways. One on a hotel level, and then also what you're doing with the customer data. On a hotel level, it really comes down to how much of the data that you have at a hotel, being a director of sales, a director of revenue, a GM, that you're onloading into third parties off ChatGPT. That means like I created another GB Sharma MOSAIC AI feature, and you're just uploading it there because it's free of charge. Now, all of that data is being utilized by me to A, either sell it, or B, to capitalize on how I retarget you. So how are we also putting our own SOPs when it comes to standardization of privacy at our own properties? And then, of course, then the next part comes on how are we being transparent about the use of AI technologies so we can provide it back to the customer and say, this is where it's being used.
But Andrei, I think you had something?
Yeah, I mean, all forms of any meaningful AI models, whether they're textual or imagery and stuff, are notoriously biased based on the data that they've been trained on. And I think it's particularly important to apply AI wherever it's appropriate, on the right problems, and in a responsible manner. And I think we're seeing more legislation aimed at addressing these types of challenges. Probably most of you have heard about or maybe read about the legislation in California that are trying to push around. I think it's not perfect, but it's a good start. Ultimately, just throwing AI at the problem will not address the inherent biases of. I mean, we've seen in the news, the glue on pizza examples, or someone saying I'm depressed, and the AI recommending that you go and jump off of the Golden Bay Bridge. Like, those are pretty rough instances, but as harsh as they sound, I used to work for American Express. I built their conversational AI platform, And I've seen suicide notes come through the chat, and this was back in 2015, 2016, so not even in the times of like large language models. So it all comes down to applying these technologies in a responsible manner. And that goes all the way down to the engineers that build the models, as well as the ones that put them in practice, all the way to the brands that expose them to their end customers. Not necessarily hospitality related, but also probably something that the crowd here has been aware of, the Air Canada situation from like months ago, where someone was looking for the bereavement treatment, the bereavement policy. The ChatGPT bot provided incorrect information. Air Canada tried to fight them in court and lost, trying to claim that somehow the AI was some entity that, was operating on its own, right? So, just some tidbits.
Shahar?
So to your question, it's how you're using the AI. So if you're asking specific or you generalize it, if you generalize it before you're pushing it to the AI, then it's not specific, so there is no privacy issue in that. So it really depends how you structure your technology to that matter.
Andrei, I know that you're going to have to leave us a little bit early, but any final thoughts from your perspective before we continue on broadly?
As much as, there's negative things, positive things, I think I'll leave you with the fact that the market, I think, is both overstating and understating the opportunity for AI. Some of the use cases and applications that I think, right now might feel out of touch are actually possible today, and others that feel are coming soon, like AGI, are not, right? So just, I encourage everyone to stay up to date with a variety of different viewpoints in the market, and just know that there's a lot of opportunity, but as I mentioned a little bit earlier, it's important that the technologies are applied in a responsible manner. There's lots of practical opportunities right in front of us. And thank you so much. I have a flight in the board's in 15 minutes. Wish me luck. Bye.
Good luck.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
So Andrei's leaving just when things are going to get good, because I promised we'd get back to dollars. Shahar, a question I had for you is, what role can AI play in improving operational efficiency and, I guess, optimizing resource allocation at hotels and rentals?
So I'm looking at it as a business where all of the systems are connected together. I think right now the problem is that the market is really fragmented, meaning in the vacation rental industry, people are working on 8, 9 different solutions. In the hotel industry, much more than that. And when I have API integration, it's like I had an API integration with you a minute ago, right? We replaced some notes that you've been in Israel, that you lived in London. So that's my integration with you. But I don't know who really you are, meaning I don't know the way you grew up, I don't know your parents, I don't know all of your connection, meaning it's not an holistic system that I can actually know everything that's going on. As a result, right now, the solutions that we have in the market can't be really good enough for AI. The way I envision AI is if I have openness in the future for empty calendar, then the AI will know to do the revenue management to take the price down. It will go to PPC and push like to Google, more to social to push. Then it will do SEO in the channel, see who pressed on the first picture. And after you press on the first picture, to see all of the listing description, if it's right. If somebody looked for accommodation in Colorado in wintertime, it will see a totally different listing than in summertime. So it's all about like everything is breathing, everything is talking, and the ability to change everything. So I hope I answer your questions.
You did. I do have another money-related question, maybe for you this time, Gaurav. How do you measure ROI of personalized technology in terms of like guest satisfaction and loyalty?
I think first of all, I'll say that ROI has become like this sustainability program, you could do one thing and call yourself being sustainable. So I think ROI, when you look at it, it's really being abused because no one truly has a good metrics when you look at ROI. When you think of net ROI versus gross ROI, all the ROIs you get on bookings are based on gross reservations. You don't take out the cancellation aspects of it. ROIs are based on a 30-day attribution. ROIs are based on, so many different metrics come in. I think the first thing I advise hotels is stick to the basics of getting your shit right. From there onwards, you can go into all the systems to calibrate on what is truly required because AI is evolving so fast. If you're not getting yourself right into the basics of what you need, which is on a guest communication side, which is on the guest journey side, which is on your add-ons when you go into the booking engine, or also towards the very end of it, post-checkout. What is it that you're doing with the guest to really touch the guest post-checkout? All of those aspects kind of work with you on a ROI basis. Some of it is very basic and very granular. Most ownerships are in this mindset of, if I don't see an ROI instantly based on this $5 I spend, I'm not going to spend it. When the reality is you have long-term attribution, short-term attribution, engagement-driven ROIs. So we really play that playing field at MOSAIC of what is it that you need to do in the short run in order to win into the long run.
I asked a very B2C, question there, but a lot of the times when I work with my clients, they want facts on paper about how their investments are going to provide returns, and they want sufficient commercial analysis around it. So I wonder, you all have your specialty areas, but in your experience, have you found that how do you bridge the technology element of AI to convincing the business owners that this is something worthwhile, even if maybe that tangible ROI isn't there right away or today?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, super easy.
Yeah.
Like super easy. You show them all of the tech stack that they have, and then you can show them that you can do the same with half of the price. You can show what's the scalability of the amount of employees that they currently have, how much more they can do, and explain that it's not that AI going to replace so many employees. Companies that not going to use AI going to be replaced by companies that does. So it's an easy way to explain.
Yeah, and we did this math for just a 98-room hotel just a few weeks ago. I think I shared that one with you on an average hotel spend that they were doing on their own tech stacks prior to MOSAIC coming in was roughly about $75 a key when you took in your property management systems, your CRMs, your CRSs of the world, and also with your RMS. Then when we come in and we kind of place ourselves against each other, we have the ability to almost drive down to $29 per key. We can consolidate all of the different systems together, give time and efficiency back to the property, and it's up to the property to decide, do we want to allocate those resources back to the team to enhance it better, or you have the ability to showcase that savings. That $100,000 or $150,000 that you could save over a year on an owner's perspective on a 7, 8, 9 cap basis is north of $1 million in property valuations. So how do you convince an owner to talk through it through their lens is very important because you really get to see how much efficiency can be driven by smarter systems and the right execution.
And how about revenue management?
Controlled automation versus automation, that is a very big differentiator when it comes to revenue management. A lot of the systems can do it. Everyone claims that you're best at doing everything, right? So it comes down to the type of property you are. How are you going to, let's say if you're a 50 or 100 room asset, your revenue management, what needs to be given to you is going to be very different to something that's a 200 or a 500 key asset. When you look at automation, it comes to two journeys. First is controlled automation. What are you going to allow the system to do by itself versus what are you going to allow the system to take over when it goes beyond a certain hurdle? Because you train the system to think in the manner based on the existing demand that you have. Long term with AI, with more controlled automation, you have the ability where one person can control 10, 15 hotels because even at a room type differential, most hotels said it, it's a $50 gap from a king to a double-double. Well, it could be $200, it could be $240. How do you push the resistance of elasticity? That is very cool what AI automation has brought into place that we can really have a good sandbox to play in.
All this, I think, is really exciting, especially for owners and operators. But I suppose bringing it back to the guest experience aspect of things, are any of these changes that we've been discussing could they negatively impact it? the guest experience? So like at what cost do we achieve some of these advancements?
Again, everything is for the better. Obviously, when you start implementing stuff, you have the difficulties of implementing it. The way I'm looking at it with AI is to have the AI and the BI together, meaning to have visualization of what's going on, to start with a co-pilot, meaning understanding how many times I'm changing something in order to be comfortable to move into autopilot mode. And in the end of the day, you want to create a better experience. So I really don't see the minuses if you implement it right. Obviously, there will be solutions that won't work. Obviously, like sometimes you implement technology that is not good to your business. But in general, we're going to a much more beautiful future, to be honest.
Aw, brought a tear to my eye. I want to be mindful of time and allow the audience to ask any questions they may have. But if you recall, we started this panel asking about how do you see AI impacting the guest experience today? I want to ask the same question, but ask about in the future. I'd originally suggested 5 years, and that was shot down and said you need to think about 6 months, not 5 years. But let's just say a year or two.
Yeah, the thing when we were talking about, I'm like, I don't even know what ChatGPT is going to launch 3 months from now. So forget about. So we are just playing catch up, right? And hotels are really poor adopters of technology. So we are really on the back end of when something is really done right with the airlines and the apparel, and somehow it bleeds into the hospitality side. So from us, it's really going back to the basics and getting the basics right. A lot of the hotels are all over the place, especially when it comes to independent assets. So that's what I would say. Be mindful of what's happening. Get your basics right. Get your tech stack right. Get your commercial strategies right before you can go down the rabbit hole of how much more AI can do for you, because the system is only as good as its user, but the system needs to be right and the user needs to be trained.
Yeah, I agree. It is hard to predict how AI is going to pan out, but one thing I'm really excited about is what I touched upon in my earlier response, which is when we have all these smart devices that are interconnected with each other, utilizing AI to understand the patterns of the guest, and maybe even some AI robots as well that are all integrating together. And I think the goal of all of these, technologies at the end of the day is just going to be to make things as convenient as possible. You want to take away anything that's difficult or mundane from the travel experience and just only keep the good stuff. So anything that it could be busy work or just stuff that's not really fun to do on vacation, making your bed or anything like that. Like anything that can make your life more convenient, I think will eventually happen with AI. It's just hard to see how exactly it's going to play out, but I think that's the trend. Things will just get more and more convenient.
I think this fundamental never change, meaning I want to be touched. I don't want, when I want something, I want it now. And I want to enjoy from the space. I want a clean space. So I'll get a better product in the end of the day as a guest. And this is the future, like better product in a better price. And that's the future, I say. It's a win-win-win situation, meaning the guests get a better experience as a result, better ADR, better occupancy. The property management company will get better return on the money, will be able to focus more, meaning not better return, a more profitable business in the end of the day. As a result, more air to breathe. And the investor and the owner will have like a better return on their money. So
that's a future I sign up to. That beeping means I've failed miserably at my role as a moderator and ran over. I was told we have time for one question. Oh, look at that, right away up front.
I actually want to ask your last question again. So the future of guest experience, just tangibly, and again, this is from the guest perspective. I get you sell the hotels, but let's just talk about the guest for a second, right? From the guest perspective, what do you predict the journey or the guest experience would be in a descriptive way, right, from start to finish in the age of AI?
I think a lot of prediction will occur. So it's just going to be easier to do the whole traveling workflow from booking. It's going to be much more convenient. You're going to see where you want to book and stay right away. Maybe even it'll book it for you once you type in the parameters. And then transportation, when you get there, everything will be much more convenient. As I mentioned with the messaging, you'll have instant answers to any questions you have later down the line. As I mentioned with the smart devices, your environment will be curated based off of your patterns. So it's just going to become much more responsive and predictive to how you live and travel and try to accommodate you as best as possible.
For me, when I look at it, think of it from a brand perspective versus an independent hotel. And think of it when you are using Uber now. When you do Uber and you use the app, everything is customized to you based on your own pattern behavior, right? Like, okay, the offer that you got versus another gentleman got will be very different. If you got a 20% off voucher, you got a $15 voucher because it's based on the pattern behavior. Even right now at this stage for hotels, like our target email offers are the same campaign for everyone, right? So we are so far behind when you think of it in terms of customization. In theory, we talk a lot of things of what will happen. The reality is by the time CRM catches to it, it's at minimum a year and a half for now for it to be fully augmented into the hotel side and the journey. When you talk about the journey, it is very simplified. Based on one or two things that you let know on the website or what you have the ability to share, your entire website experience changes for you based on whether you're coming in as a corporate traveler, based on you're coming in for a business. At the end of the reservation, how do you look at loyalty programs? That's another big aspect. Are you looking at loyalty as stacking as a brand that, I need to earn 50, 100,000 more room nights in order to get the next status? Or is it instant gratification? And then how do you hyper-personalize? I hate the word hyper on it because it's really just personalizing it to you. But those are the little aspects that you're going to work through to ensure that what are the things that we create as memories for you, that it augments you to come back the next time at the same journey, and you have the ability to share it with your loved ones or the people that follow you so they can have that same curated experience when you come back to that same property.
I think they cover really good all of the aspect. Think like we're going to live in a totally different world, even just from the search. Like I'm searching, so now you're not searching for, I want Miami, like they said it before, Miami in this kind of dates, how much it will cost me. It's like, I want a warm weather in Christmas time. I want to come with my wife, my 2 kids. I want to be in a budget of $5,000. I want to have a view to the ocean, and you get like all of the stuff that's appealing to you. So it really, we're going to live in a totally different world, and I can summarize each one of but it's going to be long, so.
I had to remind myself you were talking about the vacation rental market when you quoted $5,000 a night. Say, are we going to a Six Senses or something like that? Well, listen, I know we're at time. Wanted to give a huge thanks to our fantastic panel and, of course, you, the audience. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.